Hello and welcome to another episode of the Practical Permaculture Podcast. I'm your host, Alysse. I don't know about everybody else here on the East Coast, but I am well and truly sick of the rain. Our block is sludgy, muddy. We can't get anything done in the garden. I planted my garlic finally, but I am very concerned that it's going to rot in the ground because of all this rain. It's only been in a few days and it has shooted, so fingers crossed it keeps growing and doesn't get too waterlogged. I've also been hoping to plant all my fruit trees, which I think I mentioned last episode, but alas, the rain has prevented that as well. It's just way too slippery out there for us because we have no grass. It's actually not safe. We go out there in our gumboots and or even barefoot to try and walk around and we just slip over. So I've been doing lots of cooking and baking instead inside, and I'm trying out some new bread recipes, so that's been nice. But we have had a bit of a bummer couple of weeks because the money from the bank has not been approved for our the rest of our house. So we are in the process of speaking with a different bank, trying to secure some more income and dealing with that. So our lives have pretty much been revolving around that. Our materials are here on site and we don't want them getting damaged. So we're really chasing that approval. And it's quite frustrating, just the power the banks have over your situation. It's not a very big loan, but they're just not willing to come to the party. My husband and I have also been cooking up some ideas for practical permaculture. We're looking at some education that we might be able to offer face-to-face, so that's been very exciting, but not a lot has been happening here at Practical Permaculture HQ. Even our events that we have with our local community have been cancelled because of the rain. So I feel like we've really just been bunkering down the last couple of weeks and there's not a lot to report. I did want to say a huge thanks to some of the listeners who have been sharing their gardens in our Practical Permaculture Facebook group. I love seeing all your gardens and what you're up to and just different things that you're all doing in your communities. It's lovely. So if anybody wants to jump in there, I'll put a link in the show notes and you can come join us. Speaking about building, this week's episode, I interview Ashleigh and Jarrod. So they have built a hempcrete house. They started off with a little cottage that they first moved into and then built a house. So I was keen to talk to them about sustainable building practices, how their journey's gone. They rent the cottage out now. So if anybody wants to check it out and you're in the Mid-Coast area, there's an opportunity to do that. They're also looking at getting some more on-farm income. So we talk about that as well and how we can kind of aim to do that to support ourselves more. It's a really great episode, especially if you're looking at going down that sustainable building path. Before we get too far into the episode, I wanted to also tell you about this season's sponsor. So I have the Botanical Bazaar sponsoring the podcast for this season. The Botanical Bazaar is a gardening and sustainable living festival that is held on the Gold Coast in Nerang. This year, it's being held on the 2nd and 3rd of August, and I will be there doing an Instagram takeover to show you what it's all about. However, I'd love for you to join me there on the day. So if you're located in around that area or are willing to make the drive, I would highly encourage you to jump on and book some tickets online. Or if you're curious, head to their website to learn more. The link is in the show notes. That's it from me. Here's the episode with Ashleigh and Jarrod. Welcome to the Practical Permaculture Podcast, your weekly dose of gardening, intentional living, and all things permaculture, served with a side of fun and plenty of great conversations. I'm your host, Alysse, and together we'll dig into practical tips, chat with experts, and explore ways to cultivate a more abundant, sustainable life. Let's get growing. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, nice to be talking with you today.
Yes, I've got Ashleigh and Jarrod here with me today. I came across your page on Instagram, actually. Someone suggested it to me, and we're building our house at the moment, and I desperately wanted to build an eco house, which I know that you guys have delved into. It looks like an amazing house that you've built.
Thank you. It is a big journey.
Yeah.
It's a shame some things aren't more easily accessible because some things aren't as different to a normal build.
Yeah.
It's just having the information and
Yeah.
more direction.
Yeah.
We're loving our buildings, and it was an
So cool.
awesome adventure. But we got into it way before we found land, and
So cool. So for people who don't know anything about you guys, do you want us to tell us a bit about yourself and your context, where you live, that kind of thing?
yeah.
Yep. So I'm Jarrod and this is Ashleigh. We've called our property the Simple Patch, and we're up in Wingham in the mid-north coast of New South Wales. And I guess we've been going on a bit of a permaculture journey and just sustainability journey for probably getting close to 10 years now. From Ash's background in the food industry, and as a big driving force of trying to do better and make a future for the kids that is better. And yeah, it's amazing the rabbit hole that you go down.
Yeah, so we've built 2 buildings out of hempcrete using passive solar design principles on 45 acres in Wingham, as Jarrod mentioned. We've got food forests, terrace gardens, but we also do a lot on changing our mindset to consume less and being mindful of the purchases we do make.
Yeah. So prior to this, where were you living, in a city?
So I grew up on the Central Coast and Jarrod grew up in Newcastle, so just out of Sydney. After being at uni, the jobs were all in Sydney, so we did about 6 years in Sydney and we just knew it wasn't
For us.
Yeah, it was very busy and we didn't know many people and we found it a bit isolating. And out of just many different reasons, we just loved the peacefulness. Yeah, being out of the city. So we saved up everything we could, and when we were able to, we moved up this way to also start a family. We just couldn't see getting into the property market happening in Sydney. And so, yeah, a bit of a tree change, life change.
Was there anything you think in particular, looking back, that prompted you to go down this path of like learning about sustainability and permaculture and building practices?
It was like many little things over probably the course of about 2 years before I stumbled across permaculture.
Yeah.
So in my uni degree, I came across mono farming and the negativities of that and how it wasn't always monocrops. And they were promoting polycultures. It was in sociology of food. So it was talking about the benefits of polycultures, not just for the environment, but also for the workers and people that tended the land.
Yeah.
And that really clicked with me and it made a lot of sense. And I guess I was just starting to have issues with capitalism and refugees and the way we treated them. And I was in a lot of different areas, I was just not understanding how the world worked, and it didn't feel like it felt right on a personal level to me. And then I came across permaculture and it talked to all these things and the value system just sunk in, and I went like, it's not just me, like there's other people that think differently, and I found like-minded people, and that really settled with me. And along the way I was telling Jarrod all this stuff and he joined in on it too, and we did our intro to permaculture in the Sydney Permaculture Institute with Penny Pyatt. It was over 3 weekends. So you did 2 days at her property, and it was like a mini PDC, but it was just so intense and so much knowledge, and it would just spark us and gave me an energy that I wasn't getting from working in the field that I thought. I enjoyed my work, but I didn't get the same excitement as I did from learning about permaculture. So yeah, it's been a big journey, and that's sort of, not related to where we've ended up, but it has. It's been like, I guess, a whole lifestyle we look and... Yeah.
And I think having kids is such a big catalyst for that as well, because you think about how you want to bring up your children and what values you want them to have and your relationship with them and how much you're working and present in their life and all these kinds of things. So it's always a big growth moment, I think, in someone's journey along that permaculture road.
hugely. Like my work colleagues, the hours that they were doing and not getting to see their kids. You know, it was a rush to get them in the car. One parent would leave and start work early so that they had time to pick them up. And I was just like, I don't want to live that life of the, not that we're not both working, but like just having more time for the kids is a real big priority and a balance.
So do you both have on-farm jobs now, or you supplement your income in other ways?
So I'm working full-time remotely. So I did electrical engineering at uni and ended up straight into software engineering. So I've been able to work remotely, programming and software engineering for a good part of 4 years now, pretty much since just before COVID.
Yeah. And we moved up here when I was pregnant with our oldest, who's now just turned 4. So I took a bit of maternity leave. Then my work offered me a 20-month remote contract, so I've been working remotely for them, and that's just finishing. So we've been looking at ways to bring in income more locally, because my field, there's not jobs local to my area of expertise. So I've been looking at ways that I can expand, and I've got a lot of knowledge in how can I offer workshops, help in areas where there's gaps up here. And then we also have the Airbnb that supplements us.
Yeah, so on your website you're doing some first food workshops and you've got your little salves and things like that.
Yeah.
Nice. So cool. And so when you first bought the property, what got you thinking about building a hempcrete house? Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so again, I think it was after something from the intro to permaculture course that we did with Penny Pyatt. She mentioned just house design and how that can change as your zone zero. And somewhere along the way, I got in a tangent and found out about the German passive house design.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So this was ages before we bought the property.
Yeah.
And Jarrod always had an inkling of wanting to build, but I was like, oh, it's too much work. Like, I don't want to go down that path.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Was introduced to German passive house design. And there's a statement that always rings with me that they talked about how you can build a house that without heating or cooling, even in Germany, can stay between, I think it's 21 and 27 degrees for 90% of the year.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Like we'd been living in rentals where you could see our breath in the morning. The wind would sway the curtains. So I was like, that is incredible. So I delved into that more, and then I stumbled upon natural building. And this was all still while I was going, I don't want to build. But it was just so interesting.
Yeah.
And it took me into this rabbit hole, and I went like, why aren't more people building this way? Like, it just, again, another one of those clicking moments with me. The design principles of, orientation and where do you place windows to let light in, and having floors that can absorb that warmth, and the insulation and how that works. So you can start to tell that I'm a scientist by
That's how your brain works.
Yeah, it was just really interesting. And then we were starting to get our savings up and get to an age where we were like, we're starting to think about a family, and we wanted to work out where we wanted to live. And yeah, that's where we were very open-minded, and we came up with a big list of what we liked and what we didn't like and where we thought we could live. From renting, we learnt a lot, whether it was the distance from the beach or
having fly screens.
Having fly screens. Our first rental didn't, and that was horrific. So that it was a big list of things that we wanted nearby, how safe we felt from being from a hospital, and things like that. So yeah, Wingham, we ended up finding Wingham through sort of that big search of places. It wasn't too far from us from family in Newcastle, and we visited, and it just
felt like a really nice community.
Yeah. So at that point we were looking at houses or land without houses.
Yeah.
And the quality of house builds up around here wasn't great, and the
They're
amount
quite
we'd have
old, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like if we spend the amount with a house, it didn't leave us much for retrofitting and fixing it. So this block came up available and it just ticked most of our boxes. And that sent us down, well, we're definitely building.
Yeah, it's so cool. And so did you have someone help you with the house design, or did you do it all yourself?
Yeah, we worked with Kirsty from Shelter Building Design.
Okay.
So we did a lot of the design and I did sketches and then she helped do the technical drawings.
And the
But she
council
also
submissions.
she did all the council submissions and she gave us suggestions on, because she's right into solar passive and
Yeah.
really into hempcrete. She's an expert in it. She's
Wow.
built with hempcrete as well. So there
And
was a
she's
lot of,
local to you
she
guys,
was
or?
in Blue Mountains.
Okay, cool.
So we were at the time living in Parramatta, so it wasn't
Yeah.
too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, she came up and she even helped us with some of the hempcreting on our main house, which is really nice.
And so you built the house yourselves, the hempcrete, the walls and the structural side of it all?
Yeah. So with the cottage, we did it 100% by ourselves.
Yeah.
And we did a workshop. So it was a smaller space. There's somewhere quick for us to have somewhere to live while we got all the council approvals done for the main house.
Yeah.
And then with the main house, we did probably in the end about 50% of the hempcrete with some help from some people in some workshops.
So cool.
So we taught them how you hempcrete and the benefits of it, and we provided them lunch and they got that hands-on experience and they helped us build our home, which is really, really nice.
That is so cool. You see a lot of it in America and even in the UK, but I don't feel like it's as common here in Australia.
There's a lot of regulations in how you build and how things are done across here, which has, benefits of good quality homes. You don't want a home that's falling down. But, there is an empowerment of, there is a lot that you can do with hempcrete, and it's really nice having that connection, and the walls get like a bit of a pattern to them. So they tell a story of how the wall was built, which is just nice to be able to look at. And
so cool. I know you didn't deal with council directly, but how did you find that process? Was there lots of pushback? Was it easy? Was there compromises you had to make for that process to work?
Yeah. They were great.
It was very smooth for this.
Yeah.
I think the biggest part with the hempcrete is, it's not structural, the hempcrete. So everything's standard. It's a timber frame, standard build, as if it's a timber frame house. The only difference is you don't put all the plastics and insulations and all of that through the wall. The hempcrete is the entire wall filling cavity surface. Inside
and out. So council were really happy for us to be using or building with hempcrete. I can remember Kirsty saying it was one of the fastest council approvals she'd gotten through. And I think it also helped that because she had that expertise in hempcrete and she sort of knew what forms they'd want to see. So she probably uploaded them initially rather than having the back and forth if you didn't know the process and what to do.
Is there anything else unusual that you've used in the build? Like, have you done traditional toilets and all those kinds of things, or have you also looked at other options for those kind of fixtures and fittings?
Yeah, so we have used traditional flushing toilets. We're just in a fairly high rainfall area in this area. So just the price, we had to make some compromises. Composting toilets are still quite pricey compared to a standard one. But we do have a worm composting system, so all of our septic had to be, we're not connected to council septic.
Sure.
So we chose a worm composting system, which is essentially a really big worm farm.
Yeah, cool.
And then that irrigates down...
one of our hills.
Yeah, one of our hills.
Yeah. How have you found
And our
that?
tomatoes are loving it.
Yeah.
They've gone a little bit crazy. You're not meant to plant on top of it.
These ones grow wild just anywhere.
These are wild ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Tomatoes have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've got plans to put a few more maybe tree-producing crops or some flower crops
Yeah.
up higher across those irrigation lines.
Yeah, we have the same thing here. It's not a worm system, but it reticulates back through the property. And we've only chosen to put it in certain spots, but we're planning on putting a flower bed on one spot, and on the other spot, same as you, they said you can't plant like leafy greens and things like that, but they said fruit trees and all those kinds of things are perfectly fine. So we've done a few kind of edibles, but mainly like a native kind of habitat garden. So and that side the property is thriving compared to the other side that's just tap water fed, because we don't have rain tanks here yet. But it's crazy the difference when you've got them literally on each side of our boundary and you can see them side by side, how different the growth is.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We cut down, so we're 50% roughly regen forest on our block.
Yeah.
So it had been all cleared for dairy farming historically, and then this is their back paddock.
Wow.
That some regrowth had started to happen on.
Yeah.
And the trees, it's mainly spotted gum, and a lot of the trees are too close together. So we chose 2 trees and we cut them down locally.
Yeah.
Oh, Jarrod cut them down. And then we had a friend come out with a
portable mill.
Yeah, Lucas mill. And he
Okay.
milled all the timber from it. And you get so much timber from a tree.
Wow.
It's incredible. So some of them have gone into, there's like one structural beam at the front of our house. So that's,
One big post.
yeah, one big post. It's beautiful. But then Jarrod used a lot of the timber for some vanities that he built inside.
The desk,
cladding.
benches, cladding.
Yeah,
So cool.
we've been able to use it for so much.
Yeah.
Our friend that did the milling said a lot of the timber we were still like, we're using that. At the mills, he was like, it would have been thrown away and chipped. And,
Wow.
But
That's crazy.
so much of it. Yeah, and a lot of the timber from the tradies when they were here, because they did our timber frame.
Yeah.
Just because me and Jarrod don't have any building qualifications, so they did all the structural components.
Yeah.
And we were scavenging through their tip pile, and their tip pile came quite small by the end of it, because we're like, well, we can use this 2x4 and we can use this. And
Crazy the waste in the building industry, isn't it?
huge amount of waste. So it was, we've kept a lot. We really reduced a lot of the waste by just going, we can use that. We can make a
Chicken coop.
coop or flower bed, or we can do something with it. And
cool.
it's been useful to have those resources around the farm to use when projects come up.
We've had a big hailstorm back last year in November, so all of the roofs around here are getting replaced. And we keep scavenging metal off all of our neighbours and saying, oh, can we just come and take some gutters and some corrugated iron sheets for our beds and our chicken coop that we want to build? And that's all just going to, I mean, I'm sure it's going to the metal place to get recycled, but like a lot of it, all the insulation and things like that, these perfectly good roofs, they've got a couple of dings in them kind of thing, and they just get totally ripped off and replaced. Even pool
and there'd
fences.
still be energy going into like recycle them and reuse them, whereas being able to use them as they are.
Yeah. What have you found the most rewarding part of being part of the build process and building the house that you have?
I'd probably just go with all of the, I guess, empowerment of it all, of understanding essentially what was done and how it was done, and taking ownership of a lot of the cabinet making and the building of the walls. And I think, to me, again, back to, I guess, capitalism and everything, is, you do your job and get paid for it, and then you use that money to pay other people to do every other little specialization that they do. Where, I don't know, I think it's just overall holistically empowering to look at something and be able to, respect it and enjoy it and know what went into it.
Yeah, Jarrod's learned a lot about building from the builders because we worked really closely with them. They were really happy to share their knowledge or look at Jarrod's sketches of the pergola that he'd built to attach and go, maybe you need to add this in, or no, that looks okay. But for me, probably it's also been like just living in the space. It stays so comfortably warm. We don't have any heating. We learn at the cottage. It was a change of mindset being off grid, that we'd always been on grid, and that, reduce your consumption and be most energy efficient. But being off grid here in summer, we had so much power that there was no way we could use it all because the sun was shining.
Yeah.
As soon as the batteries are full, there's nothing more that happens. The system pretty much shuts down and just goes, okay, I'll wait until you use this power. And in summer, that happens at 9:30 in the morning that you're at full battery.
And we noticed in winter we stay pretty warm inside. It's really comfy. It's only on the really overcast days that you start to get a little bit cooler inside. You can just chuck on a jumper. But in summer, when we got back-to-back 40-degree days, it did get a little bit hot inside.
Yeah.
So we went, well, there's no reason we shouldn't put an air conditioner in the main house for those 40-degree days when we've got heaps of power.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of our learning curves. So being able to keep, that change of mindset that air conditioners aren't bad. It gives us a way to use the solar energy that we've got to be a little bit more comfortable. And it stays, really comfy.
And it is a very temperate area up here, but I'm really glad that we held our ground with double glazed windows. We were very strong on that the whole way through, and had just about everyone tell us, in this area you don't need double glazing, single glazing is fine. But it's a game changer for, I think it would be wasteful having all the hempcrete walls working so well and the single glazing just leaking.
When it does get hot in summer, does it cool down easily? Or
it cools down really well. We've got a bit of a breeze that often comes up through the hill from the south in the afternoon, so we just open up all the windows and
nice.
It cools down. It cools down much faster. I think because it takes longer to heat up.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of shading, so the floor's not getting the sun in summer. Whereas in winter, we've got the sun is at a different angle and it can come through onto the floors. Whereas summer sun's different, so it doesn't get in and heat up the house as much.
We've done a lot of similar things in our house, so it's not made from sustainable materials like yours is externally and internally, but we've really factored in the sun and making sure that our slab heats up so it can release the heat in winter, and that in summer we've got a deciduous tree so that'll obviously be shaded, and looking at things like retrofitting if we need to later on, more blinds or an awning that we can retract for winter and those kinds of things, so that we can use all those principles to cool our house. And we've got big sliding doors on either side that we can open up so we get, massive cross ventilation in our living space. And I would have loved to. So my mum lived at Scone and she had a hay bale house. And we played with that idea for a little while, but we just wanted a really fast build because we were kind of living in a caravan with 2 kids and 2 dogs. And it rained for 8 weeks and it kind of killed my spirit a little bit. So
I can understand the rain.
because we're in a very high rainfall area here in the Northern Rivers as well. So we just wanted a fast build, but we did look at a composting toilet as well. And our certifier said it would be quite hard to get past council here. And so it is always that compromise, isn't it? We're going to have an outdoor composting toilet that we'll utilise, but our main toilet inside is just hooked up to our reticulating septic system. And once we get OC, I think we'll kind of take the washing machine and a few things and divert it and use the water how we want, and all those kinds of things that council probably wouldn't be happy about. But we're gonna do it afterwards, so they don't know. But
that was
tricky.
One of the irks we had of how you couldn't smartly design some things to reuse, like as you say, washing water. It's just washing your clothes.
Yeah.
then, except for since my kids have been in nappies. Once they're out of nappies, there's nothing nasty in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of restrictions, but you can retrofit things and change them later.
We want to put a diverter on ours, so when we need it to go into the septic to water the grounds and everything, and when we're having low rainfall, we can do that. But if we want to, we can divert it to other areas of the block. So yeah, like just redundancy in a house. It's hard when you've got, like you said, it's good to have regulations because they're there for a reason, but it can also be prohibitive. And sometimes it's mental, like it's kind of that, oh, I don't want to have to deal with council. I think that took a lot for me to kind of get my head around. I don't want to have to push for these things, and how much energy do I have to give to this process? And so, yeah, it can be really tricky. Is there anywhere that you'd recommend if people were interested in this kind of build that they could start researching, or websites and resources that you guys use that would be worth looking into?
There's a My Home government website.
How good is it?
It's amazing.
For a government website?
Since we first looked at it back when we were planning our build.
Yeah, there was nothing on hempcrete when we were doing it. We were resourcing elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it's come a long way. It's really detailed. They've even got house plans now that you can download. And use. Because as you said, there's a lot that can be done just with traditional materials and thinking about the orientation and location of your block.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Good information on there.
Yeah. And what was the main research you did with the German passive housing? Was there a particular website or book that you used to look into that, or?
It's probably too long ago now that I can't remember exactly where.
Have you seen the retrofit passive house they've done down in Victoria?
No, I don't think so.
There's a young couple and they wanted to create, I think it's the first in Australia, of an old house that they've renovated and retrofitted to make it completely a passive house with the highest score you can get. And they actually achieved it and they did it. So, yeah, that was very cool to watch their journey. I kind of followed along on Instagram. I think they were on one of the Grand Designs episodes as well.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see what they were doing. And like you said, there's so much you can do to retrofit, whether you have a lot of money and you can put that in, or whether they're simple things, like you said, shading and planting trees and things like that that can assist with creating that in your living space.
Yeah, definitely. So much that can be done. Since finishing our builds, I think I got a bit overwhelmed by the end of it.
It's like, no more.
There's going to be innovations, and I've kept up with some of them. Like there's hemp blocks now that you can get if you prefer blocks rather than the free form.
Sure.
So I've kept up with bits of it, but other areas I've gone, okay, just fill me with gardening and
and so
I'll put it into crochet and
lovely. Yeah, I saw on your Instagram your little crocheted mat that you did. Is it a mat or a placemat or?
It's a bathroom mat.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. And so what else have you got going on at the property? Have you got animals? Obviously you've got some gardens. What else is there?
We've got probably about 15 chickens at the moment. Our chickens fluctuate up and down, but they're so friendly and beautiful at the moment. And we've gotten into the rainbow eggs. So
cool.
We've got some Aracanas that give us the blue eggs and some olive eggs. We've got, then paler white eggs. And so that's been fun. We had a few goats for a while, but we didn't have enough fencing. They were beautiful animals.
Yeah.
We didn't have the fencing or time to keep them out of my garden.
Yeah, they can be hard work.
Yeah. Beautiful animals. Just didn't quite work. We rushed into them. And then we've got 2 horses at the moment. So
nice.
The goal is to get a dairy cow at some point. Or to start off with a few cows for meat. We'll see. We just need to get more fencing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your gardens?
Yes. Yeah. So we've got we put in 3 swales and we've got fruit trees all through them. So this year we've started to get plums, guavas. What else have we got?
A lot more
Bananas,
citrus.
heaps more citrus. The oranges look like they're going to have a really good crop this year. So
Nice.
we started planting our fruit trees as we were building the cottage.
Yeah.
And planting them, knowing that they'd take a few years to give us fruit.
Yeah.
And we're just continually trying to add to the biodiversity in those systems and
Nice.
build them up because they're a bit spread out.
Yeah.
Being on such, we concentrate what we're doing onto probably about a 5-acre area, but it's still quite a substantial amount of space.
Yeah.
Then we've got our kitchen garden we've just planted our garlic. We've got heaps of leek in there. Potatoes are going. Cabbage, kale, and silver chard, warrigal greens.
Nice.
We just heaps of herbs as well. Like
Yeah.
chives have been really good, and peppermint. Yeah, we've got a lot of food producing things.
And then you've been getting a lot more flowers happening in amongst some of it as well.
Nice.
And that's been one of my favourite things to see more recently, just a lot more colour around.
Yeah.
And the kids are just absolutely loving it. They absolutely pick as many flowers as they can every day.
Yeah, we had to have that conversation that they've got to leave some for the bees, otherwise there's no flowers left to make potions with tomorrow as well. So
it's a big discussion, that one. And then my oldest is 4 and my youngest is 2.5. So it sinks in more with her.
Yeah.
And then she'll repeat it to Ruben after getting like 5 of a big handful of flowers.
Yeah.
We'll then turn to him and say, "No more, Ruben. You have to leave some for the bees."
But I got my share. Yeah. That's what mine are like as well. I don't mind when they pick the cosmos or the marigold. It's like, there's so many of those. But the other day I was working and I came out and they'd cut all my dahlias and I was like, no, not my the last of the season. I was like, oh well, it's done now.
Nothing can be done now.
I know.
Enjoy them.
So when did you move into the cottage? Like, how long have you been there for all this to get established?
So our journey, again, we didn't choose to do the PDC until we'd bought the land. So although we knew for probably a couple of years prior to doing the PDC, we wanted to make sure we had the land and could then do the design as part of the PDC.
Yeah,
which I've now thought probably isn't the wisest choice because we're just learning so much. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
We got so overwhelmed on 45 acres without even a house.
Without even a driveway.
Yeah, we didn't even have a driveway at that point.
Yeah.
It was too much to work. And I got really stuck on you have to do it the right way. Like, we've got one opportunity, we have to get it right.
Yeah.
And it really, there was so many nights of just being so stressed about getting it wrong and not knowing, whereas I think focusing on the PDC is more like learning the principles and working as a group to like bounce ideas off each other on one design.
Yeah.
I think I would have really appreciated to learn the principles to then look at our land and go, I've had all these ideas and all these concepts and now we can look at our land having this deep understanding and put it into place on our unique area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. See, I was the other way around. I really enjoyed doing it on the block that we didn't actually end up buying it. We went with a different block, but at the time we made an offer on a block, so we were doing it on 100 acres that we liked, but we kind of just focused on the 2 acres around where we thought the house might be. And it kind of just gave me permission to be like outrageous and just do like, in a dream world, what would it look like, and then redo it after the course and go, okay, well, what's stage 1? What would be realistic? Now we can see, and we're living here. That doesn't make sense because, that tree's blocking the light in winter and I didn't anticipate that. But I don't know, it just kind of gave me permission to just do whatever and then go, oh, that was kind of silly, and kind of learn from my mistakes before I actually made them in real life almost.
Yeah.
But it's a big process.
Yeah.
It's huge. And because we built the cottage before we built the house. So we've got like a terrace garden that we did on one side, which
That was happening at the same time the
that was
cottage
our
was
annual
building.
garden. Yeah, we started that way before we started the house. Like we
Yeah.
did sheet mulch beds
Yeah.
before we moved up here. And then we moved up in a tent while we built the cottage. So that was all
Wow.
growing while the builders were building. Oh, builders and us. We did a lot
Yeah.
on this one.
How long did it take to build the cottage?
About 5 months.
Oh, okay.
6 months.
Yeah. We moved in prior.
Yeah, we moved up before that.
Yeah.
We were in the tent and there was one night and it was stormy. And I was 20 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
And our dog we were on like a uplifted mattress, but our dog was next to us and she'd gotten wet because there was a leak in the tent.
Yeah.
So she kept getting wet. So she'd stand up and she'd shake all of her wet dog hair onto me.
Oh.
And after that night, I said, Jarrod, I'm not sleeping another night in there.
Yeah.
He just woken up by the dog. The tent's not meant to be up for 3 months.
Yeah.
So we moved in when we ran out of hempcrete to finish the hempcreting walls on the main house. So we moved in. It was only a tiny bit left.
Yeah.
So I just went, it's got a roof. It's dry.
That's fine.
That's way better than this tent.
Yeah. We had a similar experience. Our dogs were in the caravan with us, and one day I found them laying on our bed completely wet when I came back inside, and I was like, we have nowhere to dry these sheets and everything smells like wet dog, and they'd shake and the roof would have splatters of mud all over it. It was just so much mud and wetness, and it's fun to look back on, but I don't want to be in that space anymore.
Yeah. Definitely. We've only just gotten a new tent. It took us 5 years to come around to the concept. But, we were a bit naive, I think, at that point, and a little bit gung-ho. So we'd found a builder and he said that he'd do the slab by July.
Yeah.
And then we planned to move up in October. And we moved up in October. And the slab still wasn't done.
Yeah, that's like us. But I think it's good to be naive, because if you know it's going to be like that, you probably would have never gone down that path in the first place. Yeah. So it prevents you from even trying. So
definitely. Yeah. I think I caused our builder a lot of stress because I was pregnant as well.
Yeah, you want to be in that house.
Like, I'm not having my baby in a tent.
Yeah.
So we need this cottage built. And I did build a lot of the walls and
that's so amazing.
And we got there in the end.
Yeah.
Jarrod was installing these cupboards. We're at the cottage at the moment. Jarrod had just put these cupboards up without the doors the night before we had Thea.
They're beautiful. So, the whole thing, I jumped on your website. The house looks gorgeous, and your little fire pit area. Is that down where your Airbnb is, the cottage?
Yeah,
as well?
That's with our Airbnb. Yeah, it's so beautiful and peaceful up here.
Oh, I'll have to put the links
when no one's up here.
Yeah, I have to put the links in the show notes, because you also do house tours as well. Is that right? If people come and stay.
So we do. We learned so much about the building process as well as passive design, hempcrete building, and even fire. I did a diploma in sustainability, and that talked about fire safety in your gardens. So we offer tours of our house and the cottage for people that are staying, and we can talk more about hempcrete and a bit about what it involves, and answer any questions. And then we also do farm tours that look at the principles that we're using to guide how we're planting our garden, and even just a lot of people don't know what a potato plant looks like.
Yeah.
And so we go around showing them what the plants are, and it's so really fun and rewarding. And
that's amazing. And do you want that to kind of slowly become more of what you're doing and be your main kind of source of income, or is that just kind of for fun?
Yeah. I find I get a lot of reward out of it. hopefully igniting and inspiring others to not do what we're doing, but do their own version, or even if they just start growing spring onions because they're so easy to grow. Then I think it's just fun to be outside and teaching people some of the things I know that
so cool.
they don't know. We'd love for that to grow a little bit bigger, and offer maybe some specific workshops where they can learn to do things, whether it's planting a tree or how to compost or how to look after chickens, or we're thinking we've got a little bit of leftover hempcrete, so we've got a plan for that, for one more hempcrete workshop. But yeah, that's probably the main area, as well as the nutritional workshops over the next short term. My long-term dream goal is to be able to offer a degustation lunch or dinner from produce on our farm. And have a chef cook it, and we can do a farm tour for them. And then they can sit and enjoy the serenity and listen to the birds and eat the food that's been grown locally.
So cool.
But yeah, that's got, as you can imagine, other capital. They probably need somewhere undercover to be able to eat their lunch, and a lot of complications.
It sounds amazing what you're doing. If you had any advice for somebody who is just starting out on this journey, what do you think you'd tell them?
Probably to trust themselves, but that it doesn't happen overnight. You don't have to do everything, but just start. And you don't know where that will end up, and skills are incredible for learning one skill, and that enables you to be empowered to do something. And over time, if you keep learning more skills and you're empowered to do more things, then it's a long way to a nice future.
Amazing. Just give things a try, and small steps. Plants are going to die along the way too. Not everything's going to.
Yes, the amount of grevilleas I've planted in my heavy clay soil that are just not happy, and I don't know why I keep doing it. I know they don't like it, but I just want some grevilleas.
I know. So many of our natives like sandy soil, and I'm like, but there's so much clay.
I know. We're the same.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to chat to me. I'll put all the links in the show notes that we've talked about, but if people want to get in contact with you to ask any questions, is Instagram the best way, or email, or?
Yeah, Instagram or Facebook would probably be the two best ways to reach out.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm sure there's lots of people that will want to learn more, because I think it's something that is gaining more traction and getting more popular, and I think councils are more open to different building methods, and there's a lot more evidence supporting it now, and techniques and things like that. So, hopefully we see more and more of it.
Yeah, definitely. Even now, double glazing is mandatory, I'm pretty sure, in New South Wales.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm sure I saw that come around, and I was like, they don't have to have that one argument that we have to have.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you so much.